So in this video series, I've shown you how to set up a WooCommerce store with WordPress using blocks and laying out your pages. Now we've looked at templates for product listings, single products, the cart and checkout. However, now it's time to focus on some eye-catching design. And these will be things for like landing pages, product features, call to actions, and point of sale. So if you haven't heard of them before, what I'm going to do is introduce you to something called patterns, which is native to WordPress. But in particularly, I'm going to show you some WooCommerce patterns. Basically, a pattern is a determined set of blocks that are grouped together like a design component, and they can be reused, they can be synced, and they will basically help you to make your website stand out and look beautiful. And they can be used for things like special offers, seasonal deals, featured products, and much more. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is to add some more products. Now these products will help us to design the site and make it look a bit more interesting. So if you go to products, like I showed you in an earlier video, you can input some sample data that is bundled directly with the WooCommerce plugin. So if you come to products and import, and you can go to your sample data, and it's basically in the plugin. So wherever your storage, WP content, plugins, WooCommerce, sample data. And I'm interested in the fashion data, so I'm going to add that. So with that new data installed, what we're going to do is we're going to look at our front page. Now, by default, WordPress will use what's known as the index page as your home page. And you can use that, but if you ever wanted to create a blog for your website, then you need to keep your index page or template free. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a specific template for our shop called the front page. So if you go to Appearance Editor, or you can access it through the front end of your site, we're going to go to templates, and we can see we've got an index template, but we don't have a front page. So we just go ahead and create a new template for that. And WordPress will give us options for those templates. So I'm going to put front page in. I'm going to start afresh just to demonstrate how simple it is to create these templates. So the first thing I want to do is to add a template for my header and another template for my footer. And this gives us the basic structure. So we can see that we've got header and footer. Now in between here, I want to add, we usually add a block, but this time I'm going to add a pattern. So as I said, WordPress bundles with lots of patterns anyway. So if you look at some of these patterns, we've got featured, you get a little thumbnail of the pattern, and you can choose any one of these and just import them or dump them straight into your template. What I'm interested in is looking at the WooCommerce patterns. Now we can see instantly that we've got some patterns already set up for like offers, featured products, and we've got some featured categories and new products. So I'm just going to dump in a couple of these, and if you just simply click on the pattern, it will instantly add it to your page. So I'm going to just dump those in, and then let's have a look at them. Let's break them down and see what's going on. So we can see that we've got our first pattern. Obviously the images won't pertain to your particular shop, so you need to make sure that you change these images to reflect your store. So as you can see from my fashion data, I've got some new images that I can choose, and there'll be some more products added. So I'm going to throw in one of these images, and I'm just going to change some of the colorways to match my store, just to illustrate how easy it is to use a starting point or a pattern as a starting point, as inspiration. Now you can see this is a button, and that's already linked to my shop, so I'm happy with that. Maybe want to change the background of that group to something like grey, which keeps it in line with my design, I guess. So if we just take a look at this block, or pattern rather, we can see that it's broken down into several blocks. Let's just open all of these up. Now we can see that we've got a column or columns, and they're made up of two columns, and then we've got some text inside the columns, or the first column, and we've got a button, and then in our second column we've got an image. Now because we are losing the real estate here, we can see that it's responding to mobile devices. Now if we want to adjust this pattern, we can just make some real estate here and we can see how it's all broken down. So we can see that we've got our column. Actually, we will need to look at our list, I think. So yeah, quite simply, this is a column. Now our columns are aligned to the top, but within our column, we've got the alignment is vertically centered, which is why the text is kind of evenly spaced in the middle horizontally. So that's cool. And we can see our button. Now if we look at our other column, and that's simply just an image placed in the column. So that's pretty self-explanatory. So if we look at our other pattern, come down, which is this one here. Now we can see that we've got a product image. So I'm just going to change that image, and I can use the toolbar to do that. I'm just going to get it to the top. So WordPress dynamically kind of moves these toolbars around, so just be aware of that. If there isn't real estate at the top, it will move it to the bottom. So with my image selected, I just want to replace that for something that's more appropriate to my shop. So maybe put this product in. We can see that this is a cover image, and within a cover image you can insert blocks. So we've got paragraph, we've got text blocks, and we've got a button. But generally, by default, if you insert a cover block, the text will be in the middle. So you may wonder why it's not in the middle. Well, we've got this positioning icon in our toolbar, and it indicates that we've got everything aligned to the top left. Now if I put everything in the middle, you can see that now it's changed. So it's fairly intuitive how this all works, and you can change this to reflect your design. Now I'm going to just adjust some of the colorways on this, again to make it more reflective of my design. I mean, yeah, there's contrast issues there, but you get the gist. So now we can look at another pattern down here. So if we look at this pattern, we can see that this is made up of 3 columns, fairly simple. We just get some real estate here. And we've got, in our first column, we've got a cover, which is an image cover. We've got some text at the bottom and a button. Now this could link to a category, so you can have featured categories along here. This actually goes to the shop, which is fine. I'm going to leave it like that. Obviously I want to change my image to something more relevant to my shop, so I'm going to do that, and I'll maybe call that hats. And again, just go through and make it more to your taste. So I just quickly replace that one with something. There we go. So again, we can make some real estate here, and we can see how this is all working. Now you may want to adjust some of this. We've got a white bar. This is to do with your block spacing. So in your global styles, this block spacing will be coming from the layout. And this basically, by default, sets all of your block spacing to just give you a bit of space and padding around all of your block elements. So if I were to change this to 0, that's going to remove all of my block spacing. Now that will have an effect on the overall design of your site when we come to look at other pages, but we can correct that. For the moment, I want to remove the block spacing because I prefer the elements touching each other. So I'm kind of happy with that. I'm going to save that out. There we have it. We've got some featured stuff. I mean, it's not perfect. You can play with this. But the next step is that, okay, well, maybe if you don't want to use the inbuilt patterns, let's take a look at designing our own patterns. So we'll do that next. So a pattern basically is a group of blocks. So first of all, what we need to do is to start with setting up our group of blocks. So I'm just going to go ahead and start designing here, and I may speed up the video because it will be boring to watch, and it will be more exciting for you to watch me build it quickly, and then we can come back and I'll discuss how I built it. So let's go. So there you have it. I've just done a few patterns. Now we can just break these down. So if we have a look at our first pattern, I've just put in a couple of columns. I've added another column with a cover image. Well, it's not a cover image. The beauty about the cover block is you can create a cover and it basically covers the whole area. And all I've done is I've given that cover a color background, and then my text inside just sits nicely in there. Now I can move that text around if I want to, and I can start to get really creative with the kind of style and design. In this other column, I've got another cover, so maybe I want to put that text, hang that over to the left, to the top, and then now I've got a totally different look and style. So you can see you can start to play with typography. Again, I've just put in another cover here with a background image, and then I've just put some text over the top, and I've aligned all that text to the top of that cover image, and then there's a bit of text and a button. And then I've put in another set of blocks which is in a group, and then there's a group with some text, and then there's another column with some cover images, and I'm not actually going to use the text in there. Can you remove that? No, you can't remove the text. This text is just a placeholder. That's not going to actually appear, but you can fill it with text if you want to. So these are still blocks at the moment, but all you need to do to create these as patterns is just to use your options or the three dots, and then you come down to create pattern stroke reusable block. Now if I just create that as a simple pattern, and I'll call it offer A, and I'm just going to turn sync off for the moment. Sync basically means that whenever you use that pattern, it will be synced to your original pattern, and it's locked, the style of it's locked, even the content of it. So I just want to demonstrate how a synced works as opposed to an unsynced. So if I create that pattern, and then I want to create this group or this set of blocks as a pattern, and I want this pattern to be synced because there's not a lot going on with this one. I'm going to call that synced, and I'm going to toggle the synced on, so create. So now that set of blocks becomes a pattern, a synced pattern, and I can demonstrate that by placing these patterns elsewhere. So if I've got this original pattern, actually did I save that one as a pattern? No, I didn't. So if I save this one as a pattern as well, I'll call that offer 2. And I don't want that synced again, so I'll create that. Now, if you want to, I can now start to add my own patterns. So if I come to my blocks, patterns, my patterns, I can add another. So offer A, that's now been dumped into my page there, and I can also put offer 2. Did I call it offer 2? Yeah. Under there. Now, if I want to put my synced pattern in, you just basically come over to this icon here, and this should display all your synced patterns that I've actually called it synced, so that's a little bit confusing. So I'm going to dump that one in as well, and that's been placed at the bottom. So if I just make some real estate here by getting rid of this business, you can see how you can start to build your own patterns. Now, because I didn't sync these other patterns that I created, I can literally come in here and change these, and they are completely detached. So they're separate patterns. However, if I wanted to change this pattern, and I didn't like this image on the right hand side, say for instance, you have to come back to your patterns, and they're similar to templates. So you come back and then you go into patterns, and you can see that you've got all your patterns listed, and I'm interested in my synced pattern, which is this one here with the 3 images. So if I click that, I'm now independently editing this pattern, but whatever I change here, it will change throughout my site wherever I've used it. So if I want to change this image for this guy here, actually I'll put I'll leave that one. No, I'll leave the sitting down girl. And I want to change this one to this chap here. Now if I save that, that's going to ripple throughout my whole site because the pattern is synced. So if I come back to my front page, We can just demonstrate that, which we're here. So we changed 2 images, and wherever this pattern is used, that has now been reflected in my from my synced pattern. So yeah, that concludes this video. Hopefully that's useful and gives you enough to start creating, you know, superb stores. And if you've liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you've got any comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.